Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the Baylor football team. We got to do a deep dive on Baylor. I have to predict how many games are they going to win this year. If you look at the sports books, they have Baylor at 5.5 wins. Are they going to win 5 games or 6 games? What are they going to do? What I want you guys to pay attention to, though, are the odds. It's -105 and -115. That's damn near plus odds. That's pretty good. We don't see a crazy -150 or anything like that. It looks like a good coin flip, if you will. Okay? Now, we go back and look at 2023. Aranda's the head coach. I'm telling you, he's on the hot seat. He lost the whole staff. Like, he's losing them internally. They're trying, but they're signing guys I wouldn't normally sign. They're doing some shiesty shit. I've got players reaching out to me in the DM saying, hey, Rico, Baylor reached out to me, and I'm not in the portal. Yes, you heard me right. Baylor reached out to me, and I'm not in the portal. And another guy I just watched on YouTube today. There's like this Baylor insider, and he was like, hey, just so you guys know, they might add another running back. I got sources telling me they're going to add another running back. Yeah, me too, bro. I advised that running back, and I told him don't go. I told him don't do it. How about them apples? So we can do this. We can piss back and forth and try to figure out what's going on. But the way Baylor's carrying themselves is damn near criminal. Right? They're tampering with players, and they're desperate because the team's falling apart. Now look at them last season. They opened up the season with a loss to Texas State. Who predicted it? This guy. I told you Texas State was going to be on something else because of the transfer portal, because of G.J. Kinney, and it happened. I was right. Then they go out, they lose to Utah 20-13. How can you not beat a Utah team when they have a middle school quarterback? They had injuries at the quarterback position. They had no semblance of offense whatsoever. That's why they lost Mikey Matthews. And now you look at that stuff, and they're 0-2. They beat Long Island. Long Island University. You know who their mascot is? The Sharks, bro. They beat the Sharks at home. By the way, they opened the season with 4 home games and got out of there with 1 win over an FCS team. That is absolutely horseshit. That is terrible, bro. Terrible. The only thing worse is UCF at home losing 36-35 to Baylor. Baylor goes out and beats UCF 36-35. No rhyme or reason to it. We'll talk about the players. We'll talk about how it happens. But the inconsistency, I blame it on the coaches. You go and get blown out by Texas Tech. You got 2 weeks to prepare for Cincinnati. You find a way to win. Congratulations. You won by 3 points. Then you got the Iowa State game. You get the break speed off you. Let me tell you something. You guys ever, like the haters in the comments, these guys peaked in high school. Okay? Way too soon into the season to hit your stride. That win over Cincinnati was the pinnacle of their season. That's right. At that point, what was their record? They were 3-4, and then they just lost. They had 5 in a row. They end the season with 5 losses. You're talking about 30-18 to Iowa State, losing in overtime to Houston, who fired their coach. Baylor didn't have the courage to fire theirs. Go on the road to K-State, give up 59 points to Will Howard. Go on the road to TCU, give up 42 points to Josh I Suck Hoover. And then you get that really close game at the end of the year against West Virginia. Congratulations. Probably the pinnacle. The best performance they had was in a loss. And there you have it. So what does Baylor have, though? Like, when I assess Baylor, I want to show you guys something pretty cool. I'm doing a project right now, and I haven't finished it, where I'm ranking every single offense in America. I'm doing it. It's on this Excel spreadsheet here. I have a formula. I'm doing some rankings, some things, and I'm going through all the best offenses in America. And I'm going to do the defenses, too. Then I'm going to do the team totals. It's going to help me project matchups during the season, things of this nature. But when you get to Baylor and you go look at how I perceive their team to be and their position groups, they're actually not that bad. They finalized with a rating of 77 on offense. That's just behind Colorado. That's just, behind Arkansas, right behind Auburn. It's comparable to some of these other schools, but on offense. But I don't want to get into the defense right now. I can just tell you they leave a lot to be desired. They do. Okay? They leave a lot to be desired when it comes to production as well. Blake Shapen hit the transfer portal. He's gone. That was your star quarterback, multi-year starter. Took care of the ball, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but they had only 15 touchdowns on the season. 15 passing touchdowns on the season? That's not it, bro. That's not good. It's not remotely good. Completion percentage is there, and then you bring in Sawyer Robertson, who, by the way, is probably the best quarterback on the roster. He is. They don't want to hear it. Mississippi State transfer coming in, and R.J. Martinez never really got a fair shake. I love R.J. Martinez. He hit the transfer portal, went to Texas State. Go win back Texas, bro. That's an NAU transfer who used to play at Northern Arizona, and then nobody else really matters. But the quarterback room got an injection of a new player. I'll talk about it when we get there. And then you see the running back room. It's the pride and joy of this team. It is loaded. You had Richard Reese here, the third leading rusher. Don't get it twisted. Richard Reese, his 300 yards rushing last year is not indicative of what he's capable of. That man as a freshman rushed for over 900 yards. So Richard Reese is a 900-yard rusher. He could have been a 1,000-yard rusher. But they went out and they brought in a transfer in Dominic Richardson, who was the leading rusher at Oklahoma State. You want to know how good Dominic Richardson is? Not only did he beat out Richard Reese, but he was the leading rusher ahead of, like, Ollie Gordon. All right, that guy's good. Dominic Richardson, talent-wise. And we go out and do a tryout right now, and we're trying. That guy's a good running back. He beat out a guy, an incumbent. He beat out a guy with 900 yards rushing as a true freshman. He put him on the bench. And then you see Dawson Pendergrass here. He's a behemoth of a white boy, man. He was a star running back in high school in Texas. He's a monster of a dude. And they couldn't keep him off the field. He'll go out there, punch it in. They have the nerve to say it's a 1-2 punch, Reggie Bush, Lindell White type thing. Slow down. West Virginia has that. You don't. Slow down. But they're good running backs. All 3 of them. No one else really matters because they all came back and they're that deep, those 3. Excuse me on that video there. Okay? When you go to the wide receiver room, they're returning everybody. Wide receivers? Everybody. Baldwin, Jackson, Cameron, Hal Presley. Everybody's back, bro. The only guy that left was Winfield. He went to Colorado State. I think Neighbors took off, or is Neighbors back? I think Neighbors left. I'll double check it right here on the chart. But the point is everybody's back, and you see them having some pretty decent numbers. They had a pass first quarterback in Blake Shapen. I mean, he's not a dual threat. He's just throwing it, right? But they have good wide receivers. Their star tight end is gone. Drake Dabney took off. He went to TCU. That hurts because he was a security blanket, and he was a threat in the red zone. The other tight end, Jake Roberts, he left. He went to Oklahoma. So now you've got your third string tight end is now your starter, Kelsey Johnson, I believe, if I remember correctly. Okay? But let's go look at some of these additions in the transfer portal, and we'll talk about what these recruiting websites don't know. Like, they just keep trying to tell you some of these players are good, and you're just like, nah, not when I turn on tape. So first things first, spring football was terrible, and they're going to tell you they didn't have a spring game on TV for anyone to see because they don't want you to see their players. They don't want you to sign their players, go and offer their players, especially if a guy has a good performance. Maybe he'll get an offer from somebody else and convince him to go into the portal. So teams are starting to do this. They're just not going to televise their spring games. You don't get to see my guys. You don't get to see who we have and you don't get film on our guys. So we're not doing a spring game. We might do some practice drills. We might do something else. It's not open to the public, that kind of shit. Protect your roster. It's cool if you got a good-looking girl. What do? You going to let her go out? Me and Kim, we went to dinner last night. We're sitting there at a hibachi, bro. We're just sitting there getting ready to order. This girl walks by. Oh, my God. I did not notice her. Kim did. Kim said her pants are see-through. I said he likes it. He wants you to look at it. That girl was bad. I was like, yo. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, these guys don't want you to see their girl. These guys ain't trying to show it off. They're trying to keep it hidden. But what they do know is their offensive line was trash. So they go out and get a 2023 kid from A&M. He's just a big project. He was a 3-star kid coming out of high school. There's nothing to talk about there. He's not going to be in the 2 deep. Sidney Fugar should be in the 2 deep. He should be depth. He actually started some games at South Carolina last year. Was not good. South Carolina fans are probably very critical of this man. Not good, but he was once an FCS star. So there's that. Truitt coming in, FCS again. They're just trying to find depth, trying to get some help because it did not look good. Jaquan Evans can play football. 2 years ago, he was a beast. Over 100 tackles. Last year, regression, right? Regress, not so much. But that's a decent player. He's a little undersized for an edge rusher, but outside linebacker, the way they use it, not a bad pickup from Western Kentucky. They got a couple guys from Western Kentucky. Simpkins really excites me, but pause. Snacks Johnson, I don't care that he's coming over from Arkansas. I'm going to tell you the same thing I said about some other guys from Arkansas. When I turn on the tape, nope. That's what I got to say about him. Nope. I turn on the tape, and I'm like, nope. These dudes be on the field and some of the worst starters I've ever seen. Yeah, they're starting. They're on the field. Some of the worst starters I've ever seen. You don't need PFF scores. You can just look at it and go, yo, that guy sucks. That ain't it. That's how I feel about Snacks Johnson. Good luck, bro. I don't believe in him like that. Noel, huge body kid. He's 6'2", 330, 340, something like that. He's huge. That kid's big. And then you got Steve Linton coming over. Linton, he played at Syracuse for like 4 years. Then last year he was at Texas Tech. Did not stand out to me anywhere. He's never stood out to me. Let me make this clear. But he is 6'5", and he is about 230, 240. Like, he's a big guy. So he looks the part. And he's been lifting weights in college for half a decade, bro. But I just don't believe in his production or lack thereof. I believe in his lack of production. So the fact that he's showing up and he can start for you is a problem. And then there's Jamal Bell. I'm gonna be clear about this. Jamal Bell, he's a transfer, been at Nevada for a long time. They never really use him. He had a phenomenal game against USC. And then they just didn't find a way to get him the ball the rest of the year. And when I tell you he had a phenomenal game against USC, it was dominant. Over 100 yards receiving. He's so fast. He's so good. And I'm telling you, he just transferred in. He was at Nevada back in 2020. I just made a post about this on Twitter. The wide receivers at Nevada in 2020 are out of this world. 3, the tight end and 2 wide receivers, Romeo Doubs and Hopkins. No, who is it? Romeo Doubs and one more. The kid at Jacksonville. I keep forgetting his name. He's got green eyes, blue eyes, whatever his name is. Yeah, what the fuck? They're in the NFL. So you had 2 NFL guys. Torrey Horton was in that room. He's the Colorado State kid who's amazing. He's an NFL draft pick waiting to happen. They had another kid who's at San Jose State. He just missed last year due to injury. He's going to be back this year. He's a starter. They had another guy that had to kick off the team, and he ended up at San Jose State. Now he's in the transfer portal, and I don't think anybody signed him. He's got problems. But the whole room was so stacked that this kid being fifth string in 2020 at Nevada is not a bad thing. They had NFL guys everywhere. Superstars in that room. Oh, the other kid was Stovall, the starter at Arizona State right now, wide receiver. So the wide receiver room at Nevada was out of this world in 2020. And Jamal Bell was there. Now, he's not being utilized properly. He's at Nevada. It's a shithole. And he transfers to Baylor. Now, remember I told you, Baylor is returning all their receivers. All these guys, Baldwin, Jackson, Cameron, Presley, all these guys, they're not better than this guy right here. They're finding out at practice real quick, who the hell is this guy? Who's this guy with no stats? Who's this guy he's at Nevada tearing it up and nobody can get him the ball. He's got the worst quarterbacks in America. Now he's at Baylor, and I don't know if we're going to get him the ball. We'll talk about it. Michael Trigg, former USC guy, went to Ole Miss. It didn't work out. A lot of people are intrigued by his talent. I don't know if it's cancerous. I don't know what it is, but Baylor signs these type of guys, last chance you type stuff. Hope he figures it out. Kurt Daniker will start. This is a starter at Ohio for about the last 2 years. And he's fine. And that's Baylor trying to address their offensive line. Congratulations, you got a starter there. Cameron Jenkins, young stud. Starting at UNLV last year, getting on the field as a true freshman, 6'2", 160 pounds, coming back home to Texas. Yeah, you missed on him. That's how UNLV landed on him. So this is a stud. It's nice to see them getting a player in the secondary. I hope he makes the 2 deep and actually plays. Cameron Jenkins can do the damn thing. You get an FCS stud in Omarion, probably the second best offensive lineman on Montana State. I had to go watch Montana State football. I didn't watch it all year until the playoffs, but I had to go back and do research. And Reamer is the other offensive lineman. I think he transferred to Cal, so I had to go learn about these guys. So I go turn on the tape. He's pretty good. He's coming home to Texas. This is a good player. Young depth. Probably not ready to start, but he's pretty good. DeQuan Finn. The recruiting websites will tell you he's an 89. They raised his rating. They talk about him. Mr. All-MAC and all this. Look, guys, if you're an MVP and you were all football season last year, we watched a lot of MAC football. I live stream every game. Listen to me. DeQuan Finn is not a good quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. There's something wrong with the way Baylor coaches evaluate the quarterback position. I've already said it many times. They didn't start Kyron Drones. They wouldn't let Kyron Drones see the field. They wouldn't utilize him in any way. He had to transfer to Virginia Tech to get into a starting lineup. Baylor coaches don't know what they're doing. Their quarterback's coach, their offensive coordinator, their head coach, they don't know how to evaluate talent. So when you go into this offseason and you're looking for a quarterback to start for you, and you go get DeQuan Finn, I don't think he's any better than Sawyer Robertson, who's the backup. I really don't. Go look at his games in the MAC, DeQuan Finn. Don't look at completion percentage because I don't know. I don't care. You can go look at his star receivers that he wasn't utilizing. Okay? He wasn't utilizing his star receivers. They regressed last year. That guy's good for an interception almost every game. That's not a good thing. He's so inaccurate, he throws it to the other team almost every single game. Go check the stats. Go check it. You know what? I hate telling you guys to do it without me doing it. Let me show you. Let me put it into your guys' face in 4K. So DeQuan Finn stats, right? There he is. DeQuan Finn stats. Everything's purple because I've already looked at everything in my life. And you can look at it. You're like, oh, Rico, he only threw 9 interceptions. 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He got better than he was the year before. This is what the recruiting websites want to tell you. He completed more passes. Bro, they didn't win the MAC. Miami of Ohio did. Listen, look at this. Let's pull it up, bro. Look at that. Look at those interceptions. One against Miami of Ohio when they lost in the conference championship. He was not clutch in the conference championship. Oh, but Rico, he's a dual threat. Oh, he's super elusive. Yeah, I know. He had one game where he went for 172 yards against UMass. Outside of that, what was he doing? Where? What? When's he turning heads and doing things? While he's getting these 2 yards of carry in conference play? This is what you're excited about? Nah, man, this dude, interception. Just everywhere. Just spreading it everywhere. I'm telling you, bro. Not a good player. How many times did he throw for over 200 yards last year? How many times didn't he? And you have an amazing wide receiver core at Toledo. You have a talent advantage at Toledo. You have better players at Toledo than you're going up against in the MAC. In the MAC, Toledo just has better players. Shout out to Candle. They know how to recruit. They're getting a bunch of players. Your wide receivers are better than the DBs. And this is the shit you pull? Oh, they won all these games. Was it because of this guy? Was it? Or was it in spite of this guy? I know they didn't cover the spread. We had a rule last year. We don't bet on Toledo. We don't bet on them because we know they can't cover the spread. Whatever they were doing here, winning by 2 points, winning by 4 points, I promise you they're not covering the spread. 4 points. 1 point. They're not the worst. And now he's going to Baylor against Big 12 defenses. Can't hit the broadside of a barn, bro. I don't know what they're planning on doing. I'd be very surprised if DeQuan Finn is the starting quarterback all year at Baylor, either by injury or performance. I'd be very surprised if he's the starting quarterback all season long. Don't think very highly of him. Kendrick Simpkins. The fact that he's not in the starting lineup kind of bugs me, but I was told he's not in the starting lineup. Whatever, bro. That guy's a player. That guy's a player. I don't know how you keep him on the bench. He's a player. He actually gets shit done. Like him a lot. And then Ashton Hawkins, a good young talent. It's one of these things where Baylor is trying to recruit the hell out of Texas State. Baylor is trying to take all the Texas State players, trying to convince them all to show up, and they're not. But Ashton Hawkins took the bait. Congratulations. He's a good player. So he's a little guy, but he ain't going to really be that star this year. Maybe next year. They got a lot of guys returning. They didn't need any help at wide receiver. No, but he took the bait. And the bait is they're going to pay a little bit of money. So, yeah, you see the starting wide receivers. They're all back. Cameron's back. There's Hawkins and Bell. I just think that Jamal Bell makes the starting lineup and starts contributing just as much as these other guys. I get it. They got continuity. But with the new quarterback, there is no continuity. You got to all learn his throwing mechanics. And I just don't think he's that guy. They paid him money to come. They got him, and they go, oh, this is what we paid for? It's like they were shopping in the TikTok shop, and they were like, oh, my God. I bought those $13 shoes from the TikTok shop, guys. I wouldn't wipe my ass with them. I bought $13 shoes from the TikTok shop. I've walked in them twice, and my feet fell asleep while wearing them, bro. True story. I got to go back to them fancy shoes that Kim buys me. I don't know what they're called, but they're fancy as hell. I'm just letting you know. QC or some shit like that, bro. Oh, my goodness. But I cannot wear those TikTok shoes. This DeQuan Finn is the TikTok shoes that promised to be good, and they showed up, and they're trash. Okay? DeQuan Finn is made in Indonesia. I'm just letting you know. Looking at the offensive line, like I said, you have some young players, sophomores, true sophomores, redshirt sophomores, I'm sorry. You have Kurt Danikin transferring in from Ohio. Campbell Barrington, I think he transferred in from BYU last year, right? One of the Barrington brothers, BYU. Yep. So we know that happened. And then Gavin Byers, cool. You're the old school dude. I like Omar. Hopefully one day he'll be in the starting lineup, but they don't have what they're looking for on the offensive line. It feels very, very soft. Okay? Tight ends, not nearly as good as last year's. It's a decline. So if you're looking for how this team improved, if you think DeQuan Finn is an upgrade from Chapin, that's fandom, bro. That's just fandom. You're just talking crazy because DeQuan Finn can't do what Chapin did at Baylor. DeQuan Finn can't throw for 60%, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He can't do this. He's not capable of doing it. 3 interceptions in a season? DeQuan Finn does that in 3 games, in 2 games. They're not ready for the amount of turnovers they're about to have. I'm telling you. Little dudes just running around chucking it everywhere. So it feels like a regress, a decline on the offensive line, a decline at tight end and quarterback. Improvement at wide receivers, improvement at running back. Defensively, didn't bring in any transfers that are really starting. That's crazy when you're as bad as Baylor was, right? That's crazy when you just lost. When you went 3-9, you didn't hit the transfer portal and find any bona fide starters. That's just conceding defeat. These dudes are just, I don't know what they're doing. It's a coaching staff that says what? We're going to start them. Now, let me tell you guys something. Trey Wilson here, former 4-star, at least according to ESPN, he was a 4-star. He's a 3-star on all the other recruiting websites. I go watch the tape. Good kid. Nice kid. I like him. I believe Tonga is a JUCO kid. Cooper Lands, starter last year. Randolph, starter. Like I said, Linton looks the part, but he shouldn't be in your starting lineup. He should not. They had a bad injury. I'll say this. If you go look at them on defense, they had a bad injury that was supposed to carry them on the team, right? They got Mike Smith Jr. to transfer in from Liberty. That was the leading tackler. Mike Smith's a good linebacker, and it just so happens he never played after September. That's bad luck right there. That's just terrible. So now you got Randolph starting. These guys have really never played. And when you look at this team, there's only one semblance of a playmaker anywhere, and it's Caden Jenkins, this young guy. But if your safeties are leading you in tackles, that means other teams are getting first downs. Your free safeties can't be one of your leading tacklers. It can't work that way. Okay? It can't, and it does at Baylor. None of these guys are overly productive. Yes, there's redshirt seniors, very older guys. You're hoping they're going to play better. I don't know where we're going with this. Devin Bobby, good player. Devin Lemire, good player. But they don't get anything done. That's why I like Simpkins to start. Even though he's not, I like Simpkins. All right? Chateau Reed doesn't move me. Carl Williams, I believe he's dealing with an injury after the spring game. Hopefully he gets better. That was a true – but there's Caden Jenkins right there. That kid can play. As a true freshman, 3 interceptions. That kid can play. Right? But at the end of the day, this defense is just abysmal at making shit happen. They'll just give up first downs, which leads to touchdowns. And I think their turnovers waiting to happen. So I don't like where Baylor's positioned right now. One thing about their schedule, though, is very manageable. So once again, let me remind you, the win total for Baylor is 5. Are they going to win 5 or 6 games? Well, when you go look at it, they open up with Tarleton State. They're going to win that game. Okay? And then they're at Utah. And Utah's the 10th team in the country, supposedly. Utah looks like they're recovering from every injury in the world. And even when Utah was at their worst, they still beat Baylor. I think Utah finds a way to win that game, especially at home. Then you have Air Force. Air Force is a very tough matchup for Baylor. I still want Baylor to win that game. So I like Baylor to win this game, but it's a tough matchup. Baylor then goes on the road to Colorado. I don't know. I feel like they match up well with Colorado. It's possible they can win that game. They have a good receiving core. They're ready to go out there and score and keep up. I don't know. Feels like a coin flip. I have them losing to BYU, but let me tell you guys something. BYU's not losing every game in the Big 12. They're just not. Okay? But I have them. I'm sorry, I had them losing BYU. I have them beating BYU. BYU's going to win something. They're not beating Iowa State. They're not beating Texas Tech. They're not beating Oklahoma State. They're not beating TCU. Not beating West Virginia. Not beating Kansas. They have a shot to beat Houston on the road. Houston had a huge decline. But even then, they still have their quarterback. They still have a good team. But they had a huge decline at wide receiver. So, at the end of the day, I see them winning 1, 2, 3, possibly 4, maybe 5. I got them at 5 wins, and that's if they beat Colorado and Houston on the road. I wouldn't be betting on that in a million years. So I'm not on the over at all. I'm on the under by a significant margin. Okay, so let's go talk about it. Let me pull up the locks chart. Here it is. And I believe Baylor, if you guys see this chart here, is on the under. I made it a lock, and I've got Baylor under 5.5 wins, and it's at a minus. See how much better that is than yesterday? And yesterday, Arizona State, you got to bet it a little heavier because it's a minus 152. But if you go get your futures bet in right now, everybody pay attention. The locks are what you should be betting on. This is a bet that you should make. We're going to keep track of all the stats at the end of the season. We're going to see how accurate we were. Did we win our money back? Did we lose? But you got to go put the bets in if you want to win. I heard some of you guys go, well, I made 3 bets. All right, listen to me. There's a lot of green on here. These are far more confident than a week-to-week matchup. I want to make that very clear. These futures bets are far more confident and far more beneficial to you than a week-to-week matchup. And I know some of you guys are going to go and bet on Georgia versus Alabama, and that's a coin flip game, and you have no business betting on that. These are not coin flips. These are locks. I feel pretty good about a lock, okay, as opposed to a lean or a value bet. Value bet's 1 unit and walk away because it's always going to be positive money. We'll be fine. Right now, this feels like a lock. I think Baylor has a really hard time getting to 6 wins. I just don't even see it. I think they fall apart. That offensive line is trash. I'm letting you know. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Good luck, y'all. Some MVPs are better than others.